Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to go over one of the major things that was a huge problem in the last 3 to 4 months, and that was the installation of alignment rack. I bought an alignment machine. I had an alignment rack that was already there. I tried to get it set up for alignments, and in order to do so, it kind of got botched. And to fix it, it cost me $13,000 and about 3 months of time, where I had a dead bay and no drive on rack, and that was a problem, right? So how that happened, we had a great first 6 months of the year. I had one technician for a month, two technicians for five, let's say from January to the end of June, and we did about $465,000 in those 6 months. We had a record month of 105,000. And that felt really good. And I was still kind of on that high. I started this process of this extreme growth that I was pushing for in the last 2 quarters. And after I fired that other technician for being, a liar, I didn't really mind doing that because we had enough money in the bank. I had enough generation of revenue from the other strong technician I had. But then things out of my control started happening. And that was losing my advisor. The tech that I had that was strong started underperforming, bringing my wife in to start training her. I had a bad hire that I brought in, hoping that he would be trained up, and he just was not able to do the job. I had code enforcement to deal with for trying to get a new exterior office installed, dealing with 15 abandoned cars that were on the property from when my landlord's dad passed away, and there's a bunch of other things. So when I was making that kind of money, I was like, hey, we can do this. But then what I didn't plan for were the things that were out of my control. And that's what really kind of made the light at the end of the tunnel extremely dim. And for the last 6 months, it just seemed like it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And stuck in that, negative thoughts, it's really bad, right? And to be honest, this channel for the last week has been an extremely good breath of fresh air, just from all the support and just me being able to put myself out there and kind of vent and explain the story a little bit. I'm hoping that, the idea is that there's other people out there that are kind of going through the same thing, and we can kind of create this community of, yeah, it sucks. Let's talk about it, and then let's try to make it better. Okay. So please, again, like this video. I want this message to get out, and obviously YouTube has its algorithms. Please share the video as much as you can. It'd be great. I am going to try to do this for the first time, where I'm going to edit this into the other video I have, just so I can give an intro on this one. So thanks again, and I'm going to go ahead and get you started on this alignment rack disaster.
All right, let's start with the shop tour. This way you can actually see a little bit better. This alignment rack, this is another freaking holy shit. Will my life get any better running this freaking business, right? So, no shit, there I was. There was an old two-post lift in this bay when I first moved in here. And the problem with the two-post was that it was old, and I wanted to drive on. So I go out and I buy an old Hunter RM lift. It was like the parallelogram style lift, right? And which means that it had 4 individual foot pads underneath it. I bought it sight unseen, sent my tow guy down to Charlotte, picked it up, brought it back, paid the money, and I installed it myself. And it worked great. It was an old lift. It was about 25 or 30 years old. But it wasn't set up for alignments, right? So, I want to be able to control the entire process with customers, and I want to be able to do my own alignments. So the Hunter guy comes in and he says, we got, this awesome deal, right, on a Hunter Hawkeye Elite. And, it's a $40,000 aligner. I got some extras, but not a lot of extras. And the reason I bought it is because I already had a lift, not this one, right? And I bought that in November. It took over a month for the guys to come out and get it organized to be able to reset the lift properly in order to start doing alignments. And it took a long time. finally, after about 6 weeks, we got the lift set up. Now, if you look at my concrete, I've got a crack here. I've got a crack over here. You can kind of see, right? And there's tons of holes in the concrete. And where this lift was in these 4 individual pads, in order to have the lift moved, I had one spot to put it. And it had to go back about 12 or 14 inches, right? And when the lift was installed, the guy that works for Hunter as a subcontractor has no affiliation with Hunter except for they wear their uniform. So explain to me how a subcontractor, a 1099 employee can actually wear a uniform. It's beyond me, but you know, I'm not an accountant or a lawyer, right? He makes a mistake on the lift and he misplaces the rear feet back here in the back by ½ an inch. Well, whether or not you pass geometry in school, hopefully you know that a parallelogram has 4 sides, 2 of which are equal, right? So you have 2 equal pairs. And well, guess what? If one of those is not equal, it's not a parallelogram anymore. So when you try to put the lift up or down, it will not work. So the contractor sets the lift up, tells me you're going to have to cut the studs off and then torque them down. You can probably save some money instead of paying me to do that. And he leaves, right? He was here all day putting the lift in. He never even put it down. So it was installed at like this height, right? And when he tells me that I have to finish installing the lift that I'm paying him for to save money, this bay, all 5 bays in here were full of cars, right? Grossing between $180 and $250 an hour. And I have to stop working on this stuff so I can pay this man $160 an hour to install a lift. Like, you're literally costing me money. So then 2 days later, I come in on Saturday. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll finish installing his lift. And I put the lift down, and then the back of this lift over here on the old lift, it was up in the air about 4 inches. And then I just took some measurements, like plain as day, without having any documentation, by the way. The rep would not give me the installation book. And I told him that, like, hey, I want the installation book for this thing, right? Because I want to make sure we're not going to be screwing stuff up. And he said, oh, it's proprietary. I can't share that with you. I'm like, dude, the fucking thing is 30 years old. Like, who cares, right? Nobody cares. I have never installed it properly. You haven't never installed this lift. I want to make sure, because we only have one shot at doing it, that we're doing it right. And he screwed it up, right? So now I am 3 months into owning an alignment machine and no rack, okay? Now the only way to fix that screw up from misplacing those holes in the back was either cut out a huge chunk of concrete from here all the way out to get rid of the cracks in the holes, and then I reset the lift in the back, drill it, wait a month to drill it and mount the lift properly for a 30-year-old obsolete lift that if that tower goes bad, I can still get parts for. That old tower, you couldn't get parts for it. So that's going to cost me a couple $1,000s and another month of not having an alignment rack or a working bay that I can't even pull a car on, right? So then I was like, okay, now what? I can't afford to go out and buy one of these. I think this is an RX or RX10. I can't afford to buy one of these racks from Hunter. They're like 40 grand or something, right, for a new one? Or yeah, I think 50. So I was forced to go out. I found finally, I've been looking for one of these lifts for 6 months, right? And I finally found one, and it was 4 hours away in Virginia. And the guy I bought it from was a super cool dude. He just wanted to get into real estate. He was tired of dealing with customers. And he owned 3 shops. Every time he outgrew, he never sold it, and he kept it, and he kept it. And then he got into the 3rd one, and it was an awesome shop, man. It was so awesome. And he had 2 of these alignment machines. This one was used very little. But I gave him $13,000 for a lift, right? And that sounds like a lot. And it probably is, but who the hell am I to say if it's too much? I don't know the market that well, right? I know I needed a lift and I bought it, and it's a really good quality lift. It works great. So then I was forced to spend 13 grand. And in order to make it right, the Hunter rep, he's embarrassed, but he seems to be a very good dude, right? He's got a lot of people vouching for him, and you know, we're gonna have to have a relationship. In order to make it right, all of the Hunter reps got together in Eastern North Carolina, and they installed my lift. Like 5 guys were here, and they installed this lift by 10:30. It was already done and installed, and we did an alignment at 1 o'clock. So they tried to make it right, and they told me, like, you're gonna have to pay for this installation, right? And I was like, yeah, I get it. I mean, if that's what it's gonna be, it's what it's gonna be. But then when I talked to him and the other Hunter rep, my rep, I told him, I said, look, dude, I'm not trying to take you to court. I'm not trying to sue you. I'm not trying to contact your insurance company. But there probably should be some discussion about how to make this right. I mean, when I screw up a car, I fucking eat it, right? And I'm not asking them to buy me a new lift. That's not fair. I'm not asking them to replace all of the concrete in the entire bay. That's not fair. But really what should have been done is this concrete should have been replaced, or the cost of that should have been calculated and then done something for that, right? That's my opinion. Whether or not that, he looked at me sideways. I don't know if it's because he was embarrassed or he thought I was an asshole. But, I'm from Philly, man. I'm going to tell you what I think, right? So we got it working finally, right? I was out 13 grand for this. I never got a bill for the installation. Whether it comes in the mail, I don't know. I would imagine that it probably is not going to come in the mail. And I think that, in my opinion, is the right thing to do. And we're going to have a relationship with this guy. Okay, I'm going to pay him just like anybody else to come out and fix it when it breaks. Clean it up, tune it up, whatever the case is. When that Coates machine goes bad, I'm probably going to buy a Hunter Maverick, and that kind of thing, right? So this is another thing that was causing so much aggravation in the middle of, losing my advisor, letting a guy go. The other one's kind of like going through some major personal stuff, hire the wife, put this on there, right? And, so that was like, dude, oh my God, bro, enough. Can I just get a win, right? Well, the win is that it's done. And I did an alignment today, and it took me, 10 hours, right? But we're learning the equipment. So that's good, right? So that is a story for you about one reason why this channel is existing, is because I'm tired of dealing with this shit, man. And I need to get control of it, right? So, all right, let's start another one.